The Wake Forest Demon Deacons enter a new era, and unfortunately, Dave Clawson moves on, and it was a fun run. I think we can acknowledge that for sure. Changing times maybe lead to his exit, but it's a new era. Jake Dickert comes in from Washington State, and he is someone who is looking to make his mark on this team, and it's a program that is in a conference that is a little bit wide open, but this is a team that is looking to surprise a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people expect Wake Forest to be near the top or competitive in this conference, but this is a team that hopes to make some noise this year, and they bring in a lot of new faces. They bring in a new offensive coordinator, Robbie Zell. If you don't know who he is, his work at South Alabama was very impressive as a coordinator, but if you haven't seen his viral YouTube video of him doing a Nick Saban impression when he was at Alabama, go check that out. It's worth it. It's really funny. He does a really good impression. Scotty Hazelton has a lot of work to do. This is a group that gave up 32 and a half points per game last year, a 4-8 finish, and Dickert knows that he has his work cut out for him. This is a team, like I said, it is hard to win at Wake Forest. Winning at Wake Forest is something that Dave Clawson found a good recipe for, but it's not the most sustainable. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it necessarily, but I do know they're going to look wildly different than they did last year. And part of that is the number of transfers that they bring in. They do return a good amount of talent, but they bring in quite a bit of talent that is going to step up and play a big role. The quarterback position for this group is probably going to be the one that's under the most scrutiny, and that's when it's going to help an offense that overall I think had plenty of things they wish they did better. And if Deshaun Purdy is what most people think that he is, then this will be a fun year. Coming in from Charlotte, 1,800 yards, 10 touchdowns, has a good frame at 6'4", 228 pounds. I think that he is very capable of elevating his game. It's just going to be very difficult to do that with new people around you in a new system on a new team. But like I said, Robbie Zell is very good at what he does, and it'll be fun to see how they utilize him in this offense. And if not, maybe Robbie Ashford, who's coming in from South Carolina, maybe he's the guy that has to step up. But I think Purdy is the more talented player, and it'll be interesting to see which one of them gels the most with their guys. And there's plenty of talent to hit downfield. Carlos Hernandez follows Dickert from Washington State, 397 yards and 5 touchdowns last year. Micah Mays returns to Wake Forest after a 218-yard season with 2 touchdowns. Sawyer Racanelli comes in from Montana, 409 yards. And then Reginald Vick Jr., over 1,100 yards, a guy who can take the top off the defense. But the question is going to be, can you elevate to the level that you're now competing at? This is a very different level in the ACC, and that's a transition. So I think that this offense has plenty of options for Purdy or Ashford. It's just going to be chemistry and if guys can take their game to the next level. And we've already gone this far. Demon Claiborne, a guy who does not get the love that he deserves. Over 1,000 yards last year, 11 touchdowns, and this is a rushing attack that finished 97th. And that's not going to get the job done if you want to win football games. Claiborne is a monster. When you give him the football, he is going to make plays, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do in this offense. Otherwise, you do have pretty good depth behind him. Tate Carney, the Carney name is very familiar to this program. 339 yards, 6 touchdowns, a good option for when Claiborne needs a rest. Maybe he's hurt, whatever it's going to be. Tate Carney is going to get the job done. So you're feeling pretty good about the options you have. It's just going to come down to execution and whether or not these guys are ready for this moment. It is tough to win in the ACC, and it's not that there aren't beatable teams. There's plenty of those, but the top is a tough group to beat. And this, we'll look at the schedule later and talk about that, but that's where things get really interesting. Now, the defense is really where they need to get better. The defense has a ton of work to do. Again, gave up 32 and a half points, 435 yards per game, and there weren't a ton of things that they were really good at. There were a lot of things that need to be improved, and part of that could be being more disruptive. This is a group that did not get to the quarterback very well. This is a group that was not overly successful at being disruptive in the rushing attack either. I mean, when your safety, Nick Anderson, makes 122 tackles, which is about on par for the course for him, that seems like every year he's got 100 tackles. It's just not a good sign. Your safety should make plays, but he should not be making 100 plus tackles a year. That is not a sustainable situation, and durability becomes a question at that point. Secondary does return quite a bit of talent, and it's not just Nick Anderson that's going to get the job done. Devon Patterson comes back, solid year, but again, 74 tackles is probably more than you want him to have. You also have Zamari Stevenson coming back, and you bring in Karan Prunty and Ashai Williams. Those are two transfers that can make an impact, and this is a group to finish 127th. So you need that group to be better. You need them to play at a better level, but that's not all on them. You do have to get some better production up front. You need the defensive line to produce better than they did last year, not a very disruptive group. And getting to the quarterback will help your secondary. Now, Gabe Kershke comes in from Colorado State. He was a big piece for the Rams defensive line. Langston Hardy was the same thing for UConn. So you have disruptive players coming in, but you just need them to elevate their game and elevate the guys around them. At one point, we did have a couple of really exciting players for Wake Forest on the defensive line, and it's just been a while since we've seen that. The linebacker position should be solid. Dylan Hazen is coming back after a solid year, 84 tackles, 7 tackles for loss. Quincy Bryant is going to return as well, 50 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. So again, you have a good group of starters. It's just going to be where's the depth, and can those starters take their game to the next level? We just don't really know that yet, but we will see. The schedule is interesting because it's a group that's right now Vegas thinks 4.5 is the win total. And to me, I see a ceiling of 7-5 because it tells me the schedule tells me there's winnable games. The floor is just going to be another 3-9, 4-8 type season. Kennesaw State and Western Carolina are right off the bat. Those should be 2 wins. NC State's looking to bounce back, but that could be a winnable game as well. Georgia Tech is looking to win the ACC, so that's probably not going to be a win unless Wake Forest is an ultimate surprise team. Virginia Tech could go either way. Oregon State is the same thing, but that's back-to-back road trips. You get a bye week before facing SMU, a team that went to the college football playoff last year. Florida State and Virginia are looking to be better than they were in 2024. North Carolina is going through a lot of change, so we'll see what they're like. Delaware is looking to make a name for themselves in their first year as an FBS school, and then you finish the year at Duke. And a lot of you think kind of what I think. None of you think at the time I'm recording that they'll finish 1st through 4th. 6% say 5th through 8th. 35% say 9th through 12th, and 59% say that they'll finish towards the bottom of the conference. So that's probably where they ultimately land. That's ultimately where they probably end up. But maybe this is a team that surprises people. Jake Dicker maybe has a little bit of magic in him and can bring that to this team and find a way to surprise a lot of people. Again, there are winnable games, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it might just be TBD for the time being to figure out what this team will be under this new leadership.